Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and we just watched San Francisco 49ers preseason week 1 just wrap up against the Denver Broncos. They lose 30-9 in what was an otherwise, dare I say, positive outcome for the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, you'd like to win a game like this, but I think there were a lot of great things on display. And there was a lot of negative things on display for San Francisco. Some great things from Jordan Watkins and Marques Sigle. The offensive line may be a work in progress and much, much more. Going to get into all those things as we recap the day and the game from the San Francisco 49ers tonight. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe on the audio podcast. Leave us that 5-star audio review. And let's dive into San Francisco 49ers preseason week 1 against the Denver Broncos. And let's start things off with some small notes I have on the day, because I think there's some notable things that transpired off the field before the game even started. But we have to mention before we get into the actual game itself, the Titans, Los Angeles Chargers, Atlanta Falcons, New York Giants, and New Orleans Saints, on top of 2 CFL, Canadian football teams, had scouts in attendance. Maybe there could be a signal of trades coming with somebody, or they're scouting a player in case somebody gets cut. So keep an eye on that as the preseason weeks progress. Also, Jauan Jennings, his agent Drew Rosenhausen, was in attendance tonight. Could there have been a discussion for a new deal? Who knows? Albeit Kyle Shanahan did confirm the injury is real, folks. And the conspiracies. Jauan Jennings' injury is real. He had it last OTAs, had it this OTAs, and has it right now during the preseason. So there's no more, it's a money grab or a money pool. It's a real injury. They are concerned about his calf going forward. And Upton Stout, I think one of the biggest indications we got before the game began of Upton Stout's spot on the depth chart was, why isn't he playing? Is he hurt? Is he this team's starting nickelback? Well, we got confirmation from Kyle Shanahan during postgame that Upton Stout has a minor tweak in his calf. He's calling it calf tightness. Again, that's a little iffy, but Upton Stout did not play due to calf tightness tonight, so keep an eye on for that. Furthering the injury updates, Richie Grant has a knee issue. He will miss probably the next week of practice, maybe even preseason week 2 against the Las Vegas Raiders. And then Michael Williams is confirmed to not have injured his knee in a severe way. He has a hyperextension and should be back in the next few weeks or so. When I get to the YouTube chat, Niner Goat 16 says Alfred Collins looks terrible, slow, and unathletic. We'll get into Alfred Collins, this team's second-round pick, a little bit later in the show. Niners Throwback, how you doing? He says, hit that like button, faithful, and subscribe. And then Lori Matthews out there in Phoenix says, we didn't get the game here in Phoenix. Thanks for catching us up on everything. Lori, I have so many notes right in front of me, and we're going to get into literally the nitty-gritty from preseason week number 1. Starting off with your first comment, maybe Mac. Let's start things off with McCorkle Jones himself, because San Francisco started this game off incredibly well. Like, Mac Jones looked like he had played in this offense for a decade. It was boom, 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 3 for 3, 62 yards, marched downfield, had a big 50-yard pass to Jordan Watkins in the first drive of this game, and they scored a touchdown. And it was like, okay, this offense looks fine without all the starters. Mac Jones looked pretty good to begin the game. Unfortunately, despite some good plays, the pass to Jordan Watkins, the the play action bootleg to DeMarcus Robinson with the player in his face, Mac Jones had a hot start. Didn't finish that way, though. Finished 1 for 4 the rest of the way for a total of 4 for 7. And only had 74 yards with 1 interception. That said, I liked what I saw from Mac Jones tonight, to a point of, I think we already knew this, but he's this team's quarterback too by a lot, seeing as to how Bradley and Mordecai played tonight, which was just atrocious in every single way. But I like what I saw from Mac Jones. He looked like a previous number 10 to don the red and gold a couple years ago in Jimmy Garoppolo. He looked fluid. He looked consistent, albeit didn't end well. But I liked what I saw from Mac Jones. It was kind of the same thing I saw during training camp. There was some check down stuff, but to get him in the pocket, his offensive line didn't do him any favors. But with what he had to work with, I really liked what I saw from Mac Jones today. That said, I don't know what the quarterback 3 conversation is like behind the scenes, but Mordecai and Bradley cannot make the roster. They shouldn't be on the practice team. My God, both those guys were utter garbage through the entire game. Carter Bradley, brother, should not even be playing in the NFL. Tanner Mordecai was trying to be Brock Purdy and doing spins and jukes and throwing picks, and it was like, holy hell. Like, you're fumbling, pulling the ball back. It was like, this is like quarterback 5 and 6 stuff. My God, it was really bad. I think San Francisco, albeit shouldn't spend too much money on the position, does need to find a better third string quarterback because neither of those guys deserve to be on the football field. I would cut both guys tomorrow and find somebody else. I'm not sure if Mordecai being cut early in the week and coming back in the week, maybe that may have cost him some, but it just was a terrible, like the offense was stuck in the mud for a variety of reasons, but quarterback was a big reason as to why that was the case. Just a terrible display of quarterbacking from Bradley and Mordecai. I'm not one to call for somebody's job, but Carter Bradley has no business being on an NFL team on the field. Just bad all the way around. Just throwing right to linebackers, like gunning the ball in there when the guy's right in front of you. Like there's no touch. It's simply this hike, step back, and fire. Sometimes that works. Like you want the ability to uncork the football when you have to. Carter Bradley is a loose cannon. Literally, it's all cannon, and it's inaccurate. It's high. It's low. It's behind. Even his completions were behind receivers. They were getting hit immediately after. I know in this world with Brock Purdy and Mac Jones being your quarterback 1 and 2, it shouldn't matter that much, but my God, like that was a disastrous display of quarterbacking from Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai. With how many injuries this team has on the defensive line, the offensive line, secondary, and receiver room, I'd find 2 other guys. Like it was just terrible out there. I go re-sign somebody else, go find somebody else because I'd rather have Quintus Cephas as the receiver 11 getting reps in training camp and during practice and preseason than watch Tanner Mordecai and especially Carter Bradley take up reps. Now, I get it. You have to have 4 quarterbacks if Brock's not going to play, but my God, find somebody else. Like these guys, like it hinders the offense because 1, these guys cannot operate the offense, not even to like a mediocre degree. Like this offense was held in the mud, held back. The offensive line wasn't great. The running backs weren't great. The receivers weren't getting open. All that's true, but these quarterbacks couldn't even hit guys that were open. Carter Bradley was throwing behind guys. Jake Tunges was wide open for 25 yards, and he threw behind him, and he almost dropped it because of that. So I'm hoping they make a change because I don't think Kyle or anybody, Clay Kubiak, anybody should be appeased with that display of quarterbacking today. But let's move on to the running back room, which I thought it's always hard to assess running backs in preseason and training camp, especially when you don't have your starting 5 offensive linemen out there. You don't have Trent to run behind or Pooney and Brendel and McKivitz, guys who are above average, if not good run blockers that know how the wide zone scheme works and can run it pretty well. So I think the running backs were fine. The worst one was clearly Amir Abdullah. 4 carries, 20 yards, 1 fumble, got hurt. I don't think he'll be here for very long, but I was really impressed with Cory Kiner on the day. I thought he was the most explosive guy in the backfield. He was in the very few lanes he had to run, was finding space, was fighting for room, and I think did show enough where someone went down like it currently is, Garendo and Jordan James. I think Cory Kiner was having a fairly nice day for San Francisco. He had, 10 carries for 45 yards on the day, which knowing what he had to work with, that's not that bad. It really is not that bad. I thought he was decisive in his runs. And again, with having no holes to run through, I thought was a good running back for San Francisco. Probably the most explosive guy in that backfield today. Patrick Taylor Jr. was fine. He's not going to give you much speed. He just knows where the hole is and he goes there. But I really can't assess them too much because the offensive line was not good. And you're not running behind the starting five who will hopefully open up more space for you because the Broncos played a lot of their starters tonight on offense and defense. So to see the second team offensive line struggle wasn't surprising, but to just know there wasn't much room to maneuver for the running backs, I think makes it hard to kind of assess where they're at or how good they were. But Cory Kiner certainly a standout for me out of the backfield. That brings us to maybe the most, I don't want to say polarizing, but certainly the most eye-catching position on the field today, that being the wide receiver room, especially on offense, because the defense was a whole different animal. I thought, and let's start with tight end Jake Tunges. He is fighting for that tight end 3-4 job with Braden Willis. I think Jake Tunges, what he doesn't bring as a blocker, he does bring as a receiver. And that, I think, can separate him from Braden Willis as tight end 3. Now, I would have Willis above him, but Willis isn't much of a receiver. He's an average blocker that can play special teams for you. But Tunges can give you something more than Luke Farrell can as a wide receiver, and we saw it tonight. Had a handful of catches, pretty reliable target out there for the two quarterbacks behind Mac Jones. Then Russell Gage didn't do much. The offense as a whole really didn't do much, but he had a couple of catches for about 3 or 4 yards. Probably wasn't the day the receiver room wanted to have against this defense. The biggest play of the day for them by far was Jordan Watkins, who had a 50-yard reception in the first drive. And I don't know about you, but it was like, oh my God, like this is awesome. He's taking it from practice and OTAs and training camp and joint practices now into games. And the excitement level was certainly there. It was a good catch. There was a DB draped all over him. He fought through contact to get the football. And it was like, yep, that play also seemed to be the exact same play that they hit Trey Lance on, or excuse me, that Trey Lance hit Danny Gray on against the Packers a couple years ago when they were both in San Francisco, which, funny enough, Jordan Watkins coming in to be a deep threat and do what Danny Gray couldn't do when he was in San Francisco. So a big play there. I didn't think Jordan Watkins had the best game, certainly a rookie game for him, which isn't too surprising. It's his first NFL game ever. You're playing against a pretty good Denver Broncos defense. I thought they tried to get him involved later in the game. A couple of end arounds for him, which it was okay. And I think that's a route where if Jacob Cowing will miss time, which he seems like he'll be back by, if not this week, certainly next week. He has a workout tomorrow to hopefully assess where his injury is at with his hamstring. But it did seem like that Jordan Watkins, for all the good things he did, the big deep catch, display of speed, the catch where I think it was Carter Bradley playing quarterback where the play was behind him. He leans back, catches a football, and immediately gets drilled. That's a great play. You have strong hands. You get drilled. You hold on to the football. Those are two good things. However, timing was a big issue tonight for a player like Jordan Watkins. The big one was the interception by Mac Jones. It didn't seem like he knew where to break his route off. He didn't come back to the football, albeit I'm not going to be as hard as Tim Ryan was on him saying he's got to come back and do all those things and play defender. I don't think he had the chance because of where his route was cut at. That said, those are the small things that Kyle looks for, and it's why you see young receivers not play as much. So for all the good work that Jordan Watkins did tonight with the deep, the deep catch, having good hands, it did feel like that the small things that we overlook as whether you're a journalist, you're a broadcaster, you're a YouTuber, you're a content creator, you're a fan, we overlook that Watkins, the timing was off, which certainly it's also on Mac Jones too. And look, even Mac Jones in his postgame said, he's a rookie and I'm new in the system. Like we're trying to figure ourselves out and get together. So It's a work in progress. That's where things are. But hopefully, maybe we see Watkins and Purdy play during whether it's week 2 or week 3 of preseason, and maybe see some more chemistry there. Watkins and Purdy have had a better chemistry in practice, so that could be one thing that could be an issue to clean up as time progresses. But I do think that Watkins had a pretty mixed day. A lot of good stuff, but some stuff you have to work on. You're not going to be too hard on a rookie. It's his first game ever. Like, he's going to make mistakes. But knowing how tough Kyle is on wide receivers, timing is one thing he will not put up with being wrong. It's a big reason as to why Pearsall, him and Purdy didn't connect early in their time together after he came back from being shot, which makes sense, right? No OTAs, no training camp, no preseason. Timing was off. Watkins having that time in OTAs and training camp and preseason to build chemistry with the quarterbacks. I'm hoping that cleans itself up, but the one way to clean that up is to play more. Whether it's training camp or practice and joint practices, the more you play with the quarterback and the offense, that'll clean itself up. So by no means am I condemning Jordan Watkins to being a bad player. I thought it was really good stuff and some things that Kyle will point out to him and say, look, this has to get better if you want to play this year. So I guess a mixed bag for a player like Jordan Watkins. But I do want to mention the end around stuff is one area where he has the speed. And if Jacob Cowing is either not going to solidify himself on the roster or be hurt again, that is one place where they can utilize Watkins' speed on the offense, even if he isn't playing receiver per se. In the running game, Watkins, I think, could find a way as a weapon in that area. But that getting on the field for Kyle Shanahan is dependent on blocking and timing of your routes. So some good stuff, some stuff that really got to be cleaned up for Jordan Watkins. I'm moving along back to the YouTube chat for a second. Big Brick 84 says, "Hey Sterling, yes brother, what's going on? Hope you're doing well." Kawachipto says, "Honestly, quite encouraged." And Strawberry React says, "Throw up on Mac Jones." I didn't think Mac Jones was that bad, Strawberry. Obviously he wasn't great, but the first drive in structure against the Broncos ones, they marched right down the football field and scored a touchdown. So, again, you want to find consistency. The Broncos had a chance to respond, but I thought there was a good sign there. But again, a lot of that was the offensive line being bad. Spencer Burford was just, wow. Just terrible on the day. And even Austin Pleasant's, like this team's tackles tonight were not good by any means, especially in pass protection. That said, let's go back to my notes and let's talk about the offensive line, because I do want to highlight one positive on the night. There probably is more, but the one I saw was Drew Moss, being a UDFA, was brought in. He was working with the third team throughout the entirety of training camp leading into this week. They cut Zach Johnson, who's having a really bad time staying in front of blocks and holding blocks during training camp. They cut him. And Drew Moss is now getting second-team reps. And I think overall held up really well, especially in the running game, playing the guard position. So we're all kind of looking around saying, where's the depth on the roster going to come from? Is it Nick Sigle? Is it Connor Colby? Is it Matt Hennessy? Is it Burford, Pleasance? Where's it going to come from? I thought Drew Moss had a really nice debut playing with the second team on the offensive line, especially on the ground. And I think that, for all the bad that happened tonight on the offensive line, which there's a lot of it, Drew Moss was one of the few highlights for me, especially. I thought the way he was able to get Cory Kiner some lanes to run. There was a block with him, I think, and Braden Willis to spring Kiner off for a pretty nice chunk of change. So Drew Moss, good stuff. The anchor was there. He pancaked a couple guys. You could tell the finishing mentality. Drew Moss has that. And that's what you want. And I think it's why they brought him in, obviously, but also I think it's why he has an upper leg on guys like Connor Colby, like Matt Hennessy, even like Nick Sigle to a certain extent of, this team is trying to find the guy to be the main backup guard. And Drew Moss, I think, has grown really quickly in his rookie training camp and preseason to a point of he might be the next right guard guy in San Francisco, or if they're vying for a left guard, right guard, swing guard situation, he could be that guy, I think. At least what he's shown so far certainly believes or makes me believe there's a higher ceiling to him than a UDFA status would indicate. But let's talk about the tackles, because holy crap. Holy crap. We walked into tonight a little worried about the offensive line. I have been, preaching that this team's offensive line is a work in progress, that it's not that good, that it really is a kind of a hold your breath situation when you don't have the starting five out there. And even then, if Barch goes down, maybe something else happens. I was like borderline distraught with how bad Spencer Burford was tonight. There was a drive tonight, which I'm sure you guys saw if you watched the games, where 3 consecutive plays. The first one was not his fault, but the second 2 were his fault, where Bonito just ran right by him twice. It was like Burford was so slow. It was a slow first step. He didn't know how to react. He was stuck in the mud. And Bonito being a speed rusher, Burford just couldn't catch up. And look, Calachipto in the YouTube comments saying, people forget Bonito being an all-pro. Yes, that's true. Like, it's really hard for a second-string left tackle, no matter who it is, to come in against a first-team defense, right? Like, that's always going to be the case, whether it is Colton McKivitz a couple years ago, whether it's Burford now. Whenever you have a backup tackle against a top edge rusher in football, one of the top guys in football, you're going to have an issue there. It's never going to be simple, right? Never going to be simple. But I think Burford has gotten, and here's the big thing, Burford has gotten primarily almost 85% of the first team snaps, because Trent takes almost every other day off for the right reasons, but Burford has been primarily this team's starting left tackle throughout the entirety of training camp. And so to see him struggle this much, while I never had high hopes for Spencer Burford, when they give you more guaranteed money on your contract, when you're taking all those first team reps, you expect someone to at least come out there and show you something. And Burford showed me nothing. I didn't think Burford was that bad last year. I thought Burford actually was a pretty competent backup left tackle before he got hurt last season. But I just don't get it. I think Burford can grow and bounce back next week. I think maybe a speed rusher like Bonito is not a good fit against him. You can clearly see Burford is probably more set up to be a denser tackle, right? Absorb the anchor or absorb some power from a edge rusher. Whereas Bonito having speed and his boom, boom, one move cut and he's in, a rip and pull or a spin move or a swim move, like he's just one step and gone, getting around Burford with ease. That to me is the struggle, where you're not like, I'm not super worried if Trent goes down for any time, but I think San Francisco's in a place where they are going to have to lean on Burford to be the backup, but also Trent's probably going to go down at some point. I do think that Burford belongs playing guard, and I would not mind him playing left guard. He's not a quick tackle. He can't get out in his first step easy. He can't get out in his stance easy, which is why he was a guard coming out of college, or at least he was transitioning to guard his first year with San Francisco, played some right tackle, but he's just too slow to play tackle at the NFL level. And to see him go against Bonito, you get him against some top speed rushers in football. Like, funny enough, I think I'd be okay if he was playing against Jared Verse, who Verse is phenomenal, but Verse is a more powerful, going to use his strength more often than not, edge rusher. He can do more, but I think Burford could fare well against the archetype of a Jared Verse over a Bonito, because Burford can be a dense, kind of strong anchored left tackle because he has a guard body where you're inside, you're trying to absorb these big defensive tackles up in you, where at tackle against the speed rusher, it's kind of a match made in hell for him, and it showed tonight a couple times. So not pleased there. Even Austin Pleasance on the right side, better than Burford, but still I thought there was some issues for him. There was a couple of plays where he just got beat again, and it's like, man, Pleasance really is on the depth chart the third guy. So I think a lot of us are hoping that Andre Dillard comes back this week, which he should be back soon, hopefully. And if you can get Dillard back, that does give you some depth. However, Dillard's always hurt. And I think that, you can also kind of toss in the fact that if you have George Kittle out there, better blocking tight end, like if you transplant Burford or Pleasance from the second team onto the first team, they're going to have more help, better tight ends to help block. Like it'll be a better unit to hide those guys. But Farrell wasn't great tonight as a blocker, which is the reason why he was signed. He missed Bonito on a chip block big time. Didn't pick him up again later on the exact same drive in which Burford got beat twice. So Luke Farrell has had a really bad training camp and not a great preseason debut. So bad stuff there, just bad blocking all around from the offensive line. I just felt like I felt bad for the quarterbacks and the running backs. Nowhere to run, nowhere to throw, no time to throw. Like every snap, the quarterback is running left and right, trying to find some space. But I think San Francisco may be trying, not to call people out, but there are some people in the community that are saying like they need to go make a trade for a backup left tackle or a backup guard, no team is getting rid of quality depth offensive line on August 9th. No one's doing it. So this idea that San Francisco, or if they do that, you're paying a high price. So I don't think San Francisco has the option to go add other guys. They may try to, but I don't think they are in a place to add other guys. They're cutting and they're re-signing guards and tackles every single day. So I think that they're banking on Dillard being brought back via the injury and hopefully he's healthy. And I think that, they're in a spot where it's uneasy and it's their own fault. They didn't address it in free agency. They didn't address it in the draft, even though they tried to and they wanted to. This has been a failure on their end a lot of the times. It's cost them 2 Super Bowls with Burford and Mike Person being a main reason as to why they lost those games against Kansas City. And I think that they're in a place where they don't have much room to maneuver. So you're kind of got to hope and bank on Trent not going down or Burford and Pleasance bouncing back, mainly Burford bouncing back in a big way, or Dillard coming back and being healthy, which is no promise. Lori Matthews asks here, what's the John Feliciano story? Speaking of offensive linemen here, I think a lot of people saw the struggles of the offensive line early in the game, and somebody tagged John Feliciano on Twitter or X and was like, hey, bring John back. And John responded and was like, tell Lynch to call me. Now, Feliciano has been pretty open about trying to get his body ready to come back this year. But he probably wouldn't want to come back until later in the season. At least that's kind of what the indication was earlier in the offseason. So Feliciano would want to come back. He's openly talked about wanting to come back. I don't know if that means come back to San Francisco. But I think if someone goes down, let's say Ben Barch gets hurt or Purdy goes down, but they're not going to bring back John Feliciano to be a backup guard. He can't play tackle. He's not going to be a backup center. He's going to want to play. So I think that if John is to come back, you are looking at someone else getting hurt, which Barch has been hurt plenty of times, but I think he's just more a big fan of the team, obviously being here for a year, almost won the whole thing with us. But I think he's just more so a big fan, wanting to help and just kind of being honest of they can give me a call. But let's move on from the offense because it was a drag. The defense scored more points than the entire offense did outside of the first drive of the game, which is just crazy to think about, that the offense was that putrid on all three levels: receivers, running backs, offensive line, and I guess all four levels being quarterback too, that the defense outscored the offense outside of that first drive of the game for the next three and a half quarters or whatnot. So let's go to the defense, because that to me was the highlight of the day. The defense for me was really fun to watch. Last year's defense was a slog. It was boring. It was just hard. It was hard to watch all the time. There was no aggression. It was misplaced aggression, mistimed aggression, the same plays over and over again. The opposing offenses clearly knew what was coming against. It just was bad. Like, Nick Sorensen was so bad. And then you see in one game, Robert Saleh being back, what it should look like. The aggression, the double-sided blitzes from a linebacker and a nickelback. Like, man, like, tonight you saw what this defense should always look like. It's what it used to look like under Saleh and DeMeco Ryans. Some of that was there with Steve Wilkes, but none of it was there last year with Sorensen. And Robert Saleh brought back the energy, brought back the aggression, brought back the playmaking. And yes, they got 30 points put on them, but the offense was so bad, they were on the field all the time. Like, they got a safety. They had they were shutting Bo Nix down. And it's like, to see this defense without Nick Bosa, without, Fred Warner, without Malik Mustafa, without Richie Grant, without Ronaldo Green and Lenore, all those guys come out there and essentially shut out Bo Nix and company for, quarter or whatnot. That was a great sign. And it was like, you can tell they have the right coach in place, which we already knew this, that could get the most out of guys you wouldn't expect to see plays from. And there is no bigger example of that. And I've already seen so many comments in here. Robbie439, I see you're already asking comments. Chase Lucas. My goodness, Chase Lucas. Have the best game of your life. Why don't you? And I have this all broken down from defensive line, linebackers, and cornerbacks, but we're going to skip ahead to Chase Lucas because maybe outside of Marques Sigle, Chase Lucas was the player of the game. What a great performance for a guy that was on the practice squad last year, brought in to be a special teamer. We'd all kind of written him off of like, yeah, he's a depth guy, not going to make the roster, this, that, and the other. But holy, my goodness, that was awesome to watch Chase Lucas. And he played the entire game. Quarter one with the second team defense all the way down to the last play of the game. He was out there. And he flashed in every single aspect of the game, as a tackler, as a blitzer, as a run defender, on special teams, in coverage. He did it all. It was a tremendous performance, and he honestly may have been the best defender out there. Denver had a whole different level of defensive play because our offensive line couldn't block anybody, but just a guy that was making plays everywhere, that was causing the quarterbacks to be frantic and knocking balls down. What a tremendous game from Chase Lucas. For even myself, didn't think he'd make the roster. I'm not saying he's played himself into making the roster, but you can clearly see Robert Saleh values him and sees him as a guy that can play and as a weapon, where Sorensen did not whatsoever. And you saw it today. 3rd and 6. They do a double blitz. Here comes D. Winters. Bryce Huff gets pressure on the same edge as the blitz. You always love to see that. That in itself is good. Then out of nowhere, here comes Chase Lucas running out Bo Nix, causes the intentional grounding, boom, gets the safety. And it's like, that's how you, as a defense, 1, create pressure. But 2, that's how you force the offense to make mistakes. So many times tonight, we saw Saleh bring a blitz, bring some pressure, fake pressure, get the quarterbacks to change their play, this, that, and the other. And look, there were still some struggles. The tackling was atrocious after the halftime period. It was awful. awful. But Chase Lucas himself was tremendous. From my knowledge, Robbie 439, Chase Lucas cannot play outside cornerback. To your question here, he's going to be a nickelback if he makes the roster, which tonight could be an indication that he is, or at least will. I think that one, I will point this out where like Stout's making the roster, Lenoir's making the roster, but I think Chase Lucas may have jumped Trey Brown on the depth chart, at least for nickelback. I think that Trey Brown, who I think had a really good beginning to his time in OTAs in the beginning of training camp, has slowly kind of faded down the depth chart, where Dallas Flowers is out there playing outside cornerback, Darrell Luter Jr. is playing outside cornerback, and Trey Brown, who was once playing with the first team defense, was playing with the third team defense tonight. Whereas Chase Lucas is playing with second team defense, third team defense, fourth team defense, however many teams they got on defense now because they have so many people out there. Chase Lucas has jumped him for the nickelback job, certainly. And I think he just brings something else. He brings you special teams and nickelback versatility. He's not going to bring you the inside-outside stuff, which may lead to Darrell Luter Jr. making the roster. That said, Trey Brown wasn't terrible tonight. He forced a fumble. He had a big run stop on fourth down to force the ball back into San Francisco's hands. So there was some good stuff there, but Chase Lucas, like the intensity was there to fit a solid defense. The instincts were there. He was reading the plays right. He knew where to be. Just like enough praise cannot go Chase Lucas's way without overreacting to the preseason week 1 game against the Broncos. That said, Trey Brown again, forced a fumble. He did some nice things, but you can tell Chase has jumped him on the depth chart, especially at nickelback. I don't know if we would have seen Lucas have the same impact had Upton Stout been healthy and playing. That said, when guys are out, somebody's got to step up. Chase Lucas stepped up and may have earned himself a spot on the roster if he can continue this in practice and whatnot. But a really, really strong day. But let's stay with the secondary for a second because I do want to get to Dallas Flowers. Up and down day for him. He was a return guy for a little bit. He also got cooked by Trent Sherfield with like 30 seconds left before halftime on a deep touchdown. It wasn't bad coverage by any means. It was a phenomenal throw by Jarrett Stidham, but can't have that happen if you are Dallas Flowers. So some bad stuff there. But I do think that if he's playing with, Lenoir and Mustafa, there are things to clean up for sure. But he had a pretty nice tackle for loss to force a third and long earlier in the game. It was a mixed bag for Dallas Flowers, who has his first in-game action since he ruptured his Achilles. I think that's what happened with him in the Colts. But a mixed bag, not a terrible day, but not a great day by any means. Probably more negative than positive, but don't mind seeing what I saw. That said, Darrell Luter Jr. Whoo-wee. You want to talk about a very hard player to put your finger on, because on one hand, you look at his big PBU against Cortland Sutton and you say, oh, that was awesome. Great coverage. Cool. Almost got the pick. Saved the touchdown. That was good stuff. He also doesn't bite on a pump and go double fake by Denver and forces the Broncos to throw it short, which leads to a third down. That's good stuff, right? There were 2 nice plays in there. That's Darrell Luter Jr. After that stuff, it was a whole lot of horse manure for Darrell Luter Jr. I know he's been hurt off and on. I know that he's trying to make the roster. He's pushing and pushing it. And it is a good sign. He was working with the first team, second team defense tonight over Trey Brown, who has done that a lot during training camp and joint practices. But there were so many things you just can't have happen tonight from Darrell Luter Jr. he didn't secure the edge over and over and over again. Plays off coverage on third down when it's like 3rd and 4, it's 3rd and short, and he plays off coverage. What are you doing? You have safety help behind you. Use it. And then he blew probably one of the most egregious plays of the day, maybe outside of the Flowers touchdown, but that was good enough coverage where you don't mind that. You don't love it, but you don't mind it. But the worst play of the day by far on defense, maybe outside of Nicholas Martin getting his cleats spun off of him, was Darrell Luter Jr. just leaving his zone to cover, and you have 3 guys towards the middle of the football field in the end zone, and he's sitting there looking back like, my guy's wide open. And you're hoping that Luter Jr. can clean those things up and all that stuff, but there's just been some issues with him that I don't know if the mental part of the game is there for him. And I'm not sure if he lasts much longer. I have said he's probably going to get cut or traded, but with Trey Brown playing poorly, at least in camp, and being dropped on the depth chart, I don't really know what's happening there with him. But Darrell Luter Jr., not a great day. Like, there were some good things, but overall, not a great thing. Busted coverage assignment, not holding on to the edge. It just frustratingly bad for him because he has the body archetype. He does flash at times, but a very poor day for a player like Darrell Luter Jr., which I hope he would grow because I think they like him a lot. He was a 5th-round pick. They talked to him over and over and over again. Like, they were infatuated with him coming out of the draft, but he just doesn't seem to have it. And sometimes you got to cut bait. This may be the offseason to cut bait with him or trade him away. You had about 6 teams there in your stands scouting your players. They want Darrell Luter Jr. Give us a backup tackle. Give us a guard. I don't know, something. Give us a 6th-round pick. I don't care. Give us something back for him, and you can take him. That said, going to the safety position, no Richie Grant, no Jair Brown, no Malik Mustafa. That gave us Jason Pinnock and a lot of Marques Sigle tonight, which Jason Pinnock had, I think, a rather poor game, in my opinion. But there was some nice running plays. The coverage was fine. But I do think that Pinnock had a quieter game, wasn't making plays as much, over pursuing some plays, which in the first preseason game, you don't mind as much. Guys are amped up. But as the game progresses, you want to clean those things up, which Pinnock didn't play much after the halftime. So he didn't get to do much there. But San Francisco had a lot of busted edges tonight, and you saw guys chasing the ball carriers down, which one of those guys was, I think, again, maybe the best or second best defensive player for San Francisco was Marques Sigle. That first half for Marques Sigle was probably the best first half of the night, not for Chase Lucas. No interceptions, mind you, no takeaways, but just being around the football consistently, making plays, being able to make up ground when you miss a tackle to go then chase down the ball carrier. That's big. The effort was there. A lot of good run stops for Marques Sigle on the night. I thought that Sigle was kind of there with Chase Lucas having the instincts. There was a screen pass tonight where he just sniffed it out immediately and got the guy down to the ground, which was great. There was a play where it was a pitch pass to Bidet, the running back for Denver, and Gifford blows up the direct route to the running back and gets hands on him first, and Siegel's behind him and cleans it up. And it's like, that's what you love. He's a guy that can play near the football. Didn't really have any coverage breakdowns from what I can tell on the television. Maybe it's different on the All-22, but I thought that was a pretty strong performance from Marques Sigle, who, a guy you haven't really heard much about during training camp, you haven't seen much about, but you can tell he was waiting for a game like this, of let me finally hit somebody that's not my own teammate, which he did a lot of tonight. There was a play where it was a run to the left, I believe, to Bidet again, and he got away from Nicholas Martin pretty well. It was like a one cut to the out, and Martin just whiffed big time. And you saw Sigle and Bethune swarm right after it and bring him down. So a lot of good things as a tackler and run defender from Marques Sigle tonight, the rookie safety from Kansas State. That said, one bad play from him I want to highlight because it may have been the only bad play on special teams the entire night. It was a good punt by Thomas Morstead, high in the air, hang time, gives his guys a chance to get downfield. And Sigle has the return man dead to rights, like dead to rights. Misses the tackle, big whiff. The guy runs 25 yards downfield. So, amongst the 5 to 6 good plays he had, one bad play, but that is like the lone bad play from him. And funny enough, the special teams unit was actually pretty good tonight. And we haven't said that often for San Francisco, but Brant Boyer's group was looking competent for once. Jake Moody makes his only PAT attempt the entire night, which that's great to see. Also, tonight was one of the reasons as to why I assumed they weren't going to keep 2 kickers during the games, because you just can't predict what your offense does. You don't get to line up kicks freely. So seeing Jake out there, no pressure, he makes the PAT. But more importantly for Jake, an area in which he struggled so much has been kickoffs. They're either too short, they're out of bounds, they're too long, mainly too short. And Jake finally had 2 excellent kickoffs tonight. One went into the end zone, led to a touchback. The other one was right on the goal line, and the guy brought it out and gave San Francisco's unit a chance to get the guy stopped inside the 30. That's what you want to see. Good stuff from Jake Moody. It sounds weird saying that, but good stuff from Jake Moody. Thomas Morstead, you can tell the leg strength may not be there from a ability to kick it deep down the field, but the hang time is certainly there. And maybe he was trying to kind of get that thing narrowed down, but hang time was awesome. Gave his guys a chance almost every single punt to get downfield and make a tackle, which besides that one broken play that Sigle missed a tackle on, I was pleasantly surprised by how great the punt coverage or punt unit was today by San Francisco. The other stuff, Junior Bergen, the punt returner, kick returner. Wow. It feels really good to finally have a return man that can actually break some tackles, can make a few guys miss, and has some speed. No more Richie James Jr.'s or McLeod's or whoever else is back there. Like, Junior Bergen knows what he's doing, knows how to make guys miss. He had 2 kick returns tonight, for 40 yards in total. His big punt return, though, which is one of the biggest areas this team has struggled with year after year after year. It cost them in the Super Bowl, and it's cost them multiple times during the regular season. Has 1 punt return, makes a guy miss on an excellent cut move to his left, just catch move immediately, had the awareness to get out of the way, and a great block by Isaiah Hodgins frees him up for a 28-yard return and gets San Francisco's offense the ball at the 43-yard line, which, if you're playing with the first team unit, you're giving Christian McCaffrey, Brock Purdy, hopefully the next few months or so, Brandon Ayuk, Jauan Jennings, Pearsall, Kittle, all those guys the ball near midfield. Like, that to me is excellent stuff. He did drop a pass as a receiver, which he'll be a work in progress in that area, but as a return man, I think it's going to be really hard to say no to him making the roster. He's young, he's quick, he doesn't have the experience as a receiver just yet, but as a return man, sometimes you don't mind keeping 6 receivers, 7 receivers if that guy can help you win in a big game like that. So hopefully Junior Bergen continues to grow and hopefully gets more opportunities as the preseason progresses. That said, let's move away. Papa J. Not sure if anyone notices, but Sterling has got some notes. I have offense, defense, special teams breakdown from player to player to player. I was locked in tonight, Papa J, ready to go the whole game. Kyle Chipto says here, Bergen was 1 missed tackle away from a house call. That he was. We haven't seen that for a very long time. Very, very, very long time. So good from Junior Bergen tonight as a return man. But let's move things back to the defense's front seven, because this was a polarizing group. Already seen some comments about Alfred Collins in the YouTube chat. But I thought that Nicholas Martin had a very wild game tonight. I don't know how many missed tackles he had, but it felt like 20. He was spun, juked, out of his shoes. He was decleated and he wasn't even touched. He is a chicken with his head cut off on that football field. And it isn't a bad thing. But I hope you guys now understand what I said when he was uncontrollable chaos. The dude just runs around everywhere, wild, free. He's almost like you're playing defense on like college football 2026, and you're not a great tackler, and you're just diving everywhere trying to make plays. That's Nicholas Martin. He has the speed. He has the strength. He has the instincts. He knows where to be. He just isn't, again, he's not controlled enough to make the play. You got to rein him in. Like, he's there. He just isn't finishing the job. And I think he's pretty far off from playing football games this year for San Francisco. Maybe on special teams he can get on in there, and maybe the more he plays, he'll learn. Obviously, he missed almost the entirety of last season with the ACL injury, so there is that to kind of mention here with him. So maybe he was too amped up for tonight, but a lot of missed tackles. That said, you love the mentality, you love the speed, you love the aggression, but rein him in, and he can hopefully grow as a player. But I thought Tatum Bethune had a really nice night tonight. There was some struggles there, especially in coverage at times, but he made some plays as a run defender. He had an excellent third down tackle early in the game to stop Bo Nix and the Broncos' first-team offense from getting a first down and continuing their drive. That was good stuff. Didn't love what I saw from Jalen Graham. Didn't think he was great tonight. And then Stone Blanton, he's a slower guy, bigger body linebacker that's not going to do well in coverage, but he forced a fumble tonight in the fourth quarter. So some small stuff there to kind of point to and say that's good. Other than that, you didn't see much from D. Winters. Luke Gifford was okay. I just don't think he has the speed you'd want to play on this defense. Like, you'd rather have Martin's speed, but Gifford knows where to be. He's a veteran. He has the instincts too. So Gifford's not going to play much barring injury, but I do think that, like, you do like Gifford and probably Bethune over Nicholas Martin right now. He's just too chaotic, where I think he needs a lot of time. But with time, sometimes diamonds are made. So a lot to like from him. But again, he just really needs to kind of sit down and like almost breathe. Like, he's so amped up. It's like the guy from Anger Management back in the day with like Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson, where like he's a big Knicks fan and he's like, he has it on the radio, he's like yelling and screaming and like, oh my God, like all that things. And they're like, calm down, breathe. And he calms down and he breathes and he's okay. It's like, goose, ba, 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 goose, ba, ba, ba. And he calms down and he's back to normal. You want to calm Nicholas Martin down, or at least you want to just steer him in the right direction, because he's just so crazy and chaotic. But let's talk about the trenches on defense, because a lot to get into with the trenches. Some smaller names, that being Sebastian Valdez, I think is starting to catch some eyes and ears. He was on the second team defense tonight, which was good to see. Had a really nice run stop, chasing down the ball carrier. Not sure who it was. It may have been Bidet or McLaughlin in the second quarter before halftime. He also shot the gap in the fourth quarter and got a sack. So there is some nice things to see. He's short. He's stout. Just don't pour him out, please, because he's got something there. And I think in a defensive tackle room so open to be kind of maneuvered around with and guys released or dropped and brought up and all that stuff, Valdez is starting to gain some traction in that room. And if guys miss time, aka Kevin Gibbons going to miss some time, Valdez, I think, can give you something. I'm not sure what it is, but he's got the ability there with some speed and some power. So a good showing by him tonight. Robert Beal Jr. Not a great game from him. There was some nice stuff. He had a sack. He flashed some speed. There's also a play where CJ West beats a double team and forces the ball carrier to the outside. Beal's there waiting for him and brings the tackle in. That said, other than those two plays, didn't set the edge very well. He missed a couple sacks. He had the guy on. He missed some tackles too. I think that Beal, with how thin the edge rusher room is, like Bosa, Huff, Michael once he comes back, Samo, who's out right now, and Yeturgos Matos, maybe I'm missing somebody else, but like he's probably going to make the roster just based on how thin it is. But he's that guy you just really don't want to see out there. He's certainly a project, but not a great day from him. That said, I do think that Alfred Collins, who I think has gotten the ire of the fan base, and I've seen so many comments in the YouTube chat, if I can get to them one quick second here, is because Niner Goat 16 says this: I thought Alfred Collins had upside. He literally looks like Kinlaw if Kinlaw was slow and weak. Alfred Collins showed nothing positive at all. Talk about coming down someone's road. He also says here, if Spencer Burford was a defensive tackle, his name would be Alfred Collins. Jeez. I think there's one more in here too. See if I can find it. Yes. Niner Goat 16, once again. Alfred Collins looked terrible. He's slow and unathletic. It was a rough day for Alfred Collins. He's not going to give you much as a pass rusher. All the context that applies to him in training camp and joint practices still apply to game time. Right, he missed months with the team because of injury and the contract stuff. But yeah, it's not because Collins can't move. It's not because Collins is unathletic. Yes, he's a bigger body defensive tackle. Yes, he's a run stuffing, hopefully double team taking defensive tackle that can free up guys or be, again, a good run stopper for you. So he's not going to give you much on a base down, first down passing play. That's not what he's going to give you. And there were a handful of plays tonight where I know Denver played their first team offense, and I get that, which he isn't ready to play against just yet, but stonewalled over and over and over and over again. And the big reason is because of that. The pad level's too high. It's been a problem in college. It was a problem when he got to San Francisco, and it's a problem now 2 months into his tenure in San Francisco. His pad level's too high. The minute you give up leverage to, in this case, an all-pro guard of Quinn Miners, you are going to lose almost every single time, especially in the pass rushing game where you don't have a swim move, where you don't have the ability to swipe and just do all these things, rip and pull over and over again. Like, you don't have that plethora of moves to get to the quarterback when you're that limited. And as soon as you raise up and you give up leverage, it's over. The game's over with. And he's just sitting there pushing, going nowhere. And the guy, it's almost like when you're little and your dad's in the way and you're trying to push him out of the way, and it's like, Dad, move, get out of the way. And he's just standing there, no effort at all, but he's not moving an inch. And it's like, wow. And for Collins, he's got the strength. He's got the size. Like, he has the ability to move guys like that, which all pro guards, maybe not, but with growth and time, hopefully he will be. But that pad level, he's got to get it down. Again, like Chris Kosarek said, ass down, ass down, ass down. Get your ass down. If you can get your ass down, you'll get under guys. You'll be able to lift guys up and move dudes around. The pad level's too freaking high for him. And it's going to be a work in progress for him. I'm not sure if that's because of the ankle injury that he had during the draft period in time, but he's got a lot of work to do, because right now of the grouping, he was not one of the top defensive tackles. And once Evan Anderson comes back, he's not going to be a primary defensive tackle against the run either. He just is not playable with the first team off or defense at all. I get it. Second round pick, you want him there, but not right now. We have 3 weeks to get there, but not right now. He's not ready. It was not a good day from him. Not as a pass rusher, not as a run stuffer. He's behind in a big way. And you all saw it tonight. I've been telling you for weeks that he's behind. He's behind. Like, it's not great right now. And tonight, full display, just he couldn't move anybody because his pads are too high. Get him down, ass down. And Niner Goat 16 says here, I saw Collins get pushed back 5 yards. Then he started doing jumping jacks, like trying to get the PBU. Flailing around out there trying to do his job. But yeah, not a great day. But 2 guys to me had a really good days for San Francisco. And if you can get some stuff out of the first guy I'm going to bring up to you, you're in a good place, or a better place than we thought you'd be on the defensive line, because Kalia Davis, clap it up for Kalia Davis. What a tremendous outing for him as a pass rusher on the night. He had a great, I don't say a great sack, but Bradley Anea gets some pressure, forces the quarterback up into the defensive tackle area. He's sitting there waiting for him. Stidham runs right into him, brings him down, grabs him, gets a sack. The other one was, to me, probably his best play of the night. He breaks through the gap, chases down the running back from behind, and stops him for a near TFL. Also had a handful of other TFLs in the night, some other good run stops. A really, really good day from Kalia Davis, where he's been hurt over and over again. He's a guy who's missed so much time, and they drafted him with the idea of being the pass rushing version of DJ Jones. He ain't been that whatsoever. But if you can get him healthy and that presence on your defensive tackle room, and you add in a rookie Collins who needs a lot of help, but Collins, Evan Anderson, Jordan Elliott, CJ West, Kevin Gibbons when he's healthy, Sebastian Valdez, it isn't a great room, but there's a heck of a lot more potential there than what it seemed like it was going to be coming into the season. So Kalia Davis, a very good day for him. Maybe one of his best days as a pro against Denver's first team offense. So 2 thumbs up from me to Kalia Davis after tonight's preseason opener against the Broncos. And finally, to end today's show, let's talk about the defensive tackle everyone wanted to see. That being CJ West. Did you like what you saw? Did you like what you saw from the 4th round pick this year from Indiana? Him getting, I guess in this case, second team defensive reps, but the defensive tackle room really was the first team defensive tackle room today. So getting first team reps tonight. And I thought West looked really good. And it's so hard to get like an idea as to where someone's at during training camp and joint practice because they're much more controlled. It really isn't real football. Joint practices are more than training camp, and to a certain degree, sometimes more than preseason, because you can try new things and put guys in like very like distinct situations. But I thought West in his first preseason game, in like his first real uncut football outing with San Francisco, was awesome. When he blew up that double team in the first quarter, it was like, whoa. And that was the play where he forces the running back right into Robert Beal Jr.'s arms for a run stop. And it was like, like that was awesome. Like he beats a double team, gets through the offensive line, and still, makes a play. So that was like the burst, the strength, the relentless effort he has, where one of the big issues and the big differences in West and Collins is the effort after they lose the first rep. Now, West hasn't lost much, mind you. But when he does lose, he continues to fight and fight and fight and fight and fight. Whereas Collins gets beat, okay, it's over. It's over. Because he doesn't have the moves and the speed to do it. Whereas West, if he gets beat, he's scrapping and fighting and moving around like, get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here, because he wants to get to the quarterback. Relentless effort. Like, that's CJ West. And he showed tonight, beats double team, gets through the pocket, forces the running back to his right into the teeth of the defense, gets a stop. And then later in the game, later, either way, doesn't matter. They do a stunt, and he takes up the double team, freeing up Kalia Davis. And you're like, we didn't have that at all last year. And we're doing that in the preseason against all-pro guards and a pretty darn good Broncos offensive line altogether. West taking up the center and guard, freeing up Davis to go around to get the sack. He was like, heck yes, brother. Heck yes. Like, that is what you want. And Davis had 2 sacks tonight, I believe. Good run stop. West, really did all the dirty work to get that sack for Davis, which is like what you got to have on the interior. Papa J says it perfect here. CJ West is a game changer. CJ West changed tonight's game, albeit his preseason, and they lost by 21 points. But when he was out there on the football field, he was a game changer. Like, there's a reason why myself and others have been saying this guy was the better of the 2 defensive tackles. He was going to be the best pick they had the entire draft. The dude is showing off. Now, we didn't see Stout. We didn't see Micah Williams, and hopefully those guys come along against the Raiders next weekend. But West was really good. And we got more things from Marques Sigle and Jordan Watkins and Junior Bergen. Like, this rookie class had a pretty good day overall, with Martin and Collins having the worst of the 2. But just some promising things where the box score tells you one thing, they lost by 21 points, and the offense wasn't great by any means, but the defense, solid back. How is it going to look? All the questions are on the defense. I don't have a lot of questions on the offense. You have Kyle Shanahan. You have Brock Purdy. You have Christian McCaffrey. You have George Kittle. You're going to hopefully have Pearsall, Jauan, Ayuk, Demarcus Robinson, and more guys like that with the offensive line in place when it's healthy. But the defense kind of holds the key to their season. Health and defense. That's the 2 big things for them. And the health has been a problem, which isn't great, but nothing too serious thus far, so that's good. But if that defense was solid back in the building and all these rookies can play up to their abilities and play kind of above their skis at times, like, it's promising stuff. And tonight, to me, showed me more positive things than negative, where my mind starts to wonder as to how good could it be. Not going to overreact, but Sigle was awesome. Playmaking free safety. West, game-changing defensive tackle. Martin and Collins will get there eventually. Watkins had a pretty nice couple of plays. Bergen, return man, awesome. Like, so many positive things. And once you add in the whole first-team offense, and you get Bosa and Warner and Lenore and Green and Stout out there and Mustafa back, it's like, whoo, the blood's flowing, Saleh's popping veins, Shanahan's calling plays, and like, we're back, baby. So a good first day. San Francisco does lose 30-9. A lot of work to do, but a positive outcome from the day overall. Want to kindly ask you to like, share, and subscribe to the show if you can. You can follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. You can also use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERS, ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. You want to see San Francisco play in Vegas next weekend or back at home against Los Angeles, the Chargers, in 2 weekends. Get your tickets at SeatGeek.com and use that promo code and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. That said, I want to thank Papa J, Niner Goat 16, Kawachipto, Big Brick 84, Joy P, a brand new person in the YouTube comments, Lori Matthews, Strawberry Reacts, B Bop Jones, Robbie 439, and many, many others. I'm sure Bobo's in there somewhere. They're hiding, but I'm sure they're in there somewhere. But thank you all for watching, listening. San Francisco drops to 0-1 in the preseason. Not like it matters, but stay tuned for more content. Tell me down below what your takeaways from the preseason game was. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, stay faithful.